Namaste, welcome to React Bits. Today we will learn to design an intro screen for a mobile application in Flutter. So let us get started. Here I have created a new Flutter project. In order to build our intro screen, we'll be using a Flutter Swiper plugin. So let me add that to POVspec dependencies. So under dependencies, let us add Flutter Swiper. It is at 1.1.6 version at the recording. I'd like to remove the home page provided by the default demo app. Let us completely remove this. And I'll create a new stateful widget. Stateful widget, we'll call it intro screen. And here in the material app home, we'll call our intro screen. Okay, now we see a black page. This is because we have not used any material widgets. Let us use the scaffold here. Let us return the scaffold. Okay, now we can see white background. We all know intro screen doesn't really have app bars and navigation, only few buttons to interact with at the bottom and slides. So first I'd like to create our body. So body will directly contain Swiper. That is provided by our Swiper plugin, and it has item builder property which is required, and it gives us context and index of the item we are building. Next, item count is also a required property. Item count, let's say we have 3 pages. Okay, so for each page we'd like to build our item that will contain title, description, and a image, also a background color. So let me create another widget, a stateless widget. Let's call it intro item, and this will contain few parameters: title, subtitle, background color, and image URL. So let us now create constructor for this. Okay, and here let's put some required title, also require the background color. Let's keep it blank so that we can use a default color if no background color is provided. Firstly, we'll wrap the whole item by container and provide the color as either BG, or if it is null, we'll provide theme of context.primary color. Next, its child should be safe area because we are not using app bars or any navigation bars. So safe area, and its child should be a column. And in the column, we'd like to have text title. Next, if subtitle is not equal, sorry, I missed the children, text title, and then if subtitle is not equal to null, then what I'd like to do is I'd like to use a spread operator, and in here I like a sized box of height 10 for separating, and a text widget subtitle, and finally image. For image, right now I'd like to use container height, let's say 200, and child, let us now just use placeholder child, and let's give it width of double infinity. Let's separate this by a height of 20 points, and this is showing me some message here. This is because to use this syntax we need a new updated SDK constraint. So let me just update this. Now I have some kind of intro item here. In here, what I'd like to do is for each index, I'd like to build a intro item. So return intro item. Title will be, let's say, welcome. Subtitle, intro screen app, and let's say BC will be do.set, let's use set 300. Okay, so we should see some output. Now we'd like to give some styling. So first styling I'd like to give is, I'd like to add a padding for this column. So let me add a padding of, let's say, 16 from all sides, and let's style our text. Let's make this font weight bold. Font size, let's use around 35, and colors white. Okay, and let's use height, let's separate this by 20 or 30 points. Let's say 30, 40 points for this. Next, let us style subtitle. Style text to style. Let's give it white 70. Font size, let's give it 20. Let's give it just white. That's normal. Let's increase the text for now. Screens, let's say this. Let's make it 24, and let's align it. Text align. Center. I think this height should be, let's say, around 20 here and 40 here. And for this, instead of 200 height, what we can do is we can use a expanded wrap with new wizard expanded, and what I'd like to do is, with expanded I do not need the height. However, at the bottom we'll have some buttons and indicators. So what I'd like to do is, here I'd like to use, let's say, margin only. Bottom, let's say around 70 points of margin at the bottom. So here we can show our indicators and so on. If we see, we have 3 slides, all they are same. So what I'd like to do is, all 3 slides should have different information. So at the top I'll make some lists. Final list of string titles equals to welcome app, Flutter app. Let's give these 3 titles. Let's give it subtitles. So app. Next, so screen design, and finally so I have 3 different titles and subtitles. So in here I'd just like to use titles index, and sorry, again here subtitles index. So now we can see 3 different titles and subtitles. let's also show the indicator so that we'll know which page we are in. So down here in Swiper, let's say pagination, Swiper pagination. Okay, we can see the 3 pagination dots. We can configure those pagination with different options, like using the pagination builder. So if I use builder.swiper pagination builder, what I can give is active color, let's say colors.red, and active size is a double, so let's increase the active size to 20 points so that the active page indicator is larger. Okay, next we'd like to change also the colors of the background. So let me make another list colors equals let's say first one is set 300 and set 300. Okay, now down here, instead of this, in the BC we'll pass colors index. So now each slide has a different color. Maybe amber is not good with white, so for now I'll just use, let's say, indigo. Okay, we might need to hot restart. So restarted. Okay, we now have the different colors. So before adding the assets and images, I'd like to create these buttons here that can control the slides. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to wrap this swiper with a stack. Let me wrap with column and name this stack. And in the stack at the bottom, I'd like to align bottom left. Here I'd like to add a flat button. Child will be text skip on press. Let's now press it empty. So what happens is when user presses this skip button, user should skip this intro screen and go to home screen. Next, alignment dot bottom right. Here I'd like to add, let's say, icon button, arrow forward, and on pressed, let's keep it empty again. So this should allow us to go to the next slide, and when we are in last slide, this should show a check mark or anything. So for that, first we'll introduce a controller. So this uses a controller. Controller is a swiper controller. Let's create the instance of swiper controller here. Swiper controller. Okay, this equals new instance of swiper controller, and so on pressed controller dot, let's say, next index. First I'll check here. What I'll check is, while showing the icon, if, let's say, underscore controller dot index equals our total length is 3, so if index equals 2, then icon should be check, otherwise icon should be forward arrow. So let me hot restart after creating the controller. Okay, so when we are on the last slide, the icon should show. Okay, it's not working. We need to make some changes here. So I like to introduce a new variable, current index, and in swiper, so index, this should be current index, and current index should be 0. Okay, next on index changed, we get a index here, and in here we'd like to do is set state current index equal to index. Now if we hot restart, and let us go to the last slide, and instead of controller dot index, what I'd like to check is current index. Okay, so now if current index is the last index, it will show us check mark. If not, it will say show us next button. And down here again, if current index is not equal to 2, what we'd like to do is we'd like to call controller dot next. Okay, so if I'm on the first slide, next, okay, it shows the check marks. So in the else condition, we'd like to go to home page. For now, we'll just leave it at this. Also, this slide is going from 1 to last and again to the first. That we want to prevent. Let's say that we can do by loop false. Now we can't go from last to first with a loop. Next, I'd like to autoplay the swiper. So autoplay true, autoplay delay, so let's say 200. So this is very fast. Let's say 2000, that will give us 2 seconds. Let me hot restart. 1 2, okay, 2 seconds, 1 2 2 seconds. So it keeps playing. Autoplay disable on interaction true. So when user interacts, we like to disable the autoplay, so it no longer autoplays. Let me hot restart. Autoplay, let me interact. Okay, it's not working, but it should have worked. Disable autoplay when interaction. The only thing that remains is for us to add the image in our slide. So let us add asset. And for adding assets, I like to use onDraw illustrations, free illustrations. Let's search for mobile. Let us download 3 different PNG. I like to put it in my project. Let's create a new folder here, assets, and let's save. Let's name this 1, save. Next, let me use this mobile pay, download. Let's name this 2, and for third screen, let's use this 3. Let's save these. And in order to use these images, first we'd like to add it in our assets. So here, like this, just you can uncomment this line. I'd like to add here, yes, it is assets, and this will be assets / if we add a folder, all the images directly in that folder but not in the subfolder will all be added in those assets. Okay. I'm missing a semicolon here. We could run the packages get again. If not, we can run it from our, okay, it's running and it is successful. Now we'll make the list of images. So we just have images as 1, 2 and 3. So we can directly use, what we can do is image URL will be, so assets slash dollar index plus 1 dot png. Okay, we are passing the image URL, and down here in the item, in place of placeholder, what I'd like to use is image.asset asset image URL, and the fit will be box fit dot contain. Okay, and I'd like to do a few things. So let me wrap this with a new widget, clip our rect, and here I'd like to provide a border radius. Circular of 20 points. Okay, it is because of content. Box fit dot, let's use cover. Okay, if we use cover, now the borders are showing. Let's use material here. Let's wrap this image with material so that we can give some shadow. So wrap with new widget, material. Let's format this document, and here elevation, let's give 4.0. Okay, now we can see some shadow down here. So this is how easy it is to develop a intro screen in Flutter. Let me just disable this autoplay. So okay. Thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. Hope you like it. Show your support by subscribing and sharing the videos.